Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of Learn Live UAE. I'm really excited to be able to title this episode WomenEd MENA Takeover. We've got three fantastic educators and leaders from not only from the region, but who are also massive proponents of and champions of WomenEd MENA in the region. So I'm going to bring those guests in very shortly. How's my week been? My week's been all right, thank you. I'm flying solo this evening. I'm afraid Mark has another prior engagement, but he and I have been chatting a lot about season 3, and we've got some exciting plans to share for you coming up soon. So we'll probably release those at the end of next week's episode. Next week will be the last week of season 2. That'll take us to 32 shows this academic year. It still blows my mind that this has been a little project for just over a year now. So thank you to all of you who've not only supported but come on the show and shared, and a massive thank you publicly before we bring our guests in this evening to Zainab, Esther and Rania for not only giving up their time but helping to spread the love for WomenEd MENA across the region and sharing a little bit more about their journey and their story in education so far, what drives them and what they're passionate about in education across this region. So I'm going to bring in our very first guest this evening. Zainab, welcome to the show.
Hello. Welcome. Hi.
Good evening. Thank you for
Good evening.
This evening. Could you just tell us a little bit about yourself, please? Your journey in education so far, your current role, and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Zainab. I'm a mother of 3. I have been working here in the UAE now for 9 years. And I have been teaching for 20 years, and actually early years is my passion. So I'm just stuck to early years. I just love little children, and it's my passion to see the change and see them growing. And I'm assistant head of early years now in Al Dhafar School in Abu Dhabi.
That's amazing, and I take my hat off to you, metaphorically speaking, because whilst there have been many challenges for educators in the last 18 months, how you've done it with early years, I have no idea. As a secondary specialist, I find that mind-blowing. So amazing.
Classrooms have been so different than before. So the setting of the classroom, having a lot of regulations in the children's daily play, has been really a big challenge in early years.
I can only imagine, and I'd just say, I think you early years teachers are awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let's bring in our next guest, Esther. Welcome to the show, Esther.
Hi. Hello.
That's watching. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, your current role, and your journey so far in education.
Hi. Yes. Hi. Well, thank you for having us. My name's Esther. I currently teach in Muscat, Oman. I've been teaching here for about 7 years. Prior to that, I taught in London, in East London specifically. I was there for about 13 years before I came out here, and did a range of year groups there. I also did a little stint at Leyton Orient Football Club as an education department lead there, which was really cool. But currently year leader in year 6 at ESM.
Nice. Football club education lead. Can we just delve into that ever so slightly?
Yeah, I did about 2.5 years. So I worked in a community sports program, and we would get kids from all different schools around the area, so around East London, and they'd come to the press office at Leyton Orient, where we would teach them English and math skills and just personal and social skills as well through that. At the end, they'd get to meet the footballers in a lovely ceremony, and it was just great to get all the kids. We had kids from as young as year 3, and we had all the way up to like 16, 17. So it was a really, really great place to work.
That sounds super interesting and completely different to what you might normally kind of experience contextually.
Yeah, it was a complete sidetrack. Really enjoyed it. And then after I had my daughter, I went back into mainstream.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great experience.
I'm sure you had loads of takeaways from that.
It was good.
Our third guest this evening then is Rania. Rania, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Good evening. For everybody watching, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey in education so far.
Hi, everyone. I will just follow Zainab and Esther's steps. I'm mother of 5. I have PhD in education leadership from Warwick University. I worked as a teacher, vice principal, principal, strategic manager, and currently working in Qatar University in the honors program. I'm so pleased to be co-founder of WomenEd MENA with my colleagues. And I'm also co-founder of Education Leadership Labs, first initiative to follow design thinking approach in the Middle East, and many other initiatives. Thank you for having us.
That's we've got such an awesome panel here. Thank you so much to all three of you and the WomenEd MENA team behind this. I'd like to ask just a kind of question to get the conversation going. What are the values of WomenEd MENA, and which one in particular is most important to you and why? If we go in reverse order, is that okay? So we come to Rania first.
Oh, I wanted to be the last, but anyway, we have 8 values. All start with C. I'm sure that within the slides, within a few minutes, we will go through them about communication, clarity. But I will tell you about the hidden one that I prepared, which is peak. It also starts with C, because we, in WomenEd, we love to celebrate everything, every little achievement that we do, and we emphasize the idea of 10% braver. And I like here to quote my daughter when she asked me, Mama, why is it only 10%? Why not 100%? I said, because those 10% will make more than 100%. So just keep going and keep tracking of that. So cake is not only kind of a value of gaining weight, it's more about celebration and enjoying the learning of the journey that we're having.
That's a fantastic answer. I'm looking forward to delving into that a little bit more later on. Esther, which of the WomenEd MENA, or WomenEd, values is most important to you and why?
It's such a hard question, Olly, because they're all important in different stages. But I think at this point, connection is probably like a really key one. I think just connecting with people particularly in this day and age, where it's a little bit isolating for some of us. I think connecting just across the board with everybody, that's been a key for me at the moment.
I totally agree with Esther.
I mean, do you feel like it's been easier to connect in the last year?
To some degree, yes, and in some degree not. Like I like being in the room with people. I like feeling people's energy. So it's been difficult like that. But then at the same time, I am working with these two wonderful women. We've never physically met, but we've achieved so much. So I think that is really powerful. So there's a balance. I think we're looking forward to actually physically meeting in real life and sitting down and having a coffee. But for now, we're able to make those connections across. So we'll do what we can with it.
And Zainab, to yourself, which is the most important value and why?
I agree with Esther with collaboration. Because during these difficult times, I think collaboration, having these talks and communicating with people is really important, because without collaboration, we couldn't go out through this difficult year without, learning from each other, learning from experiences, learning from our mistakes during the year. There are so many things that we need to reflect on our practices this year. It has been so different than all the other years before. In many ways. And I think, yes, communication has a different shape. So before we had only our small community around us. Now we have a wide community. And I think this is the only good takeaway from the COVID, that now we extended our network. So we know so many people, we're doing a lot of things online, but before all the trainings were like in small groups, and, people have to be in one room for professional development. But now you can just get any information anyway. We just connected together now today with each other. Maybe before we couldn't do this.
So yeah, I think I agree with you both, all three of you there, that actually it has in many ways been a lot easier to connect. But I think I probably speak for all of us when I say, and Esther's alluded to this already, I can't wait till we can actually get people back in a room together and, face to face, eye to eye, look at each other and actually have those conversations, not necessarily using medium of technology to facilitate. Shall we jump straight into your presentation then and just learn a little bit more about WomenEd MENA, how to get involved, values behind it? Otherwise, I'll keep firing questions at you, and I don't want to take away from the presentation. So I've brought the presentation up onto the screen.
Okay. So today I would just like to take you in a quick journey to tell you about our story. We will start first talking about WomenEd globally, our vision, values, accomplishments, and then we will introduce our WomenEd MENA team. We will talk about our events, and then I will head over to Esther. She will be talking about challenges facing women in the MENA region and our future plans and what's coming next in WomenEd. So WomenEd is a global grassroots movement that connects aspiring and existing leaders in education and gives women leaders a voice in education. So even though women dominate the workforce across all the sectors in education, however, there are still inequalities in terms of numbers of women in senior leadership. There's some a gender gap. So there is still a gender pay gap between men and women. There are still some women who request flexible working hours, and I think this has been a little bit better after the COVID. So there are some schools that are giving flexibility in working hours. So our mission is for more women in education to have the choice to progress on their own leadership journey and to be 10% braver. So the WomenEd works to remove systematic and organizational barriers to such progress and empower women and to achieve our next leadership steps, of course, if we choose to do. And our journey. So our values, yes, we are driven by our organizational values, which are the 8 C's, which Rania was talking about: clarity, communication, connection, confidence, collaboration, community, change, and challenge. And of course, we can't forget the cake, which means that we celebrate our achievements step by step. And our journey, WomenEd started by 5 women in the UK who connected with each other via Twitter. And then they decided to expand and support more women. So they started on 2005, and they aim to connect women leaders on Twitter. So now we connect and support and empower women leaders in education. We give women a voice in education policies and practices. We improve gender balance between women and men in leadership levels. Our achievements now. WomenEd has 30 networks around the world, 750 events. WomenEd now is in 19 countries across the world, and the latest was WomenEd Malaysia. We have 35,000 community members on social media, and we have 2 books, Esther, and our Being 10% Braver was just released last December. So now it's time for WomenEd MENA. Of course, you have been introduced to us already, so we can skip this part. I just would like to highlight the diversity of our team, as you were saying. So we came from different teaching backgrounds, we are living in different countries, and we are addressing women in different parts of the MENA region. So definitely the needs and challenges facing women in Iraq would be different than women in Egypt or Lebanon or the UAE. Actually, it's a very broad area. So, but however, there are more similarities than differences, and this is what Esther will be highlighting in a bit. So our team aims to build a network to support each other, share experiences, and to celebrate achievements. We had many events. We have blogs, Twitter chats, book clubs, conferences, webinars, and we would just like to highlight some of our successful events. We started with a 10% Braver chats, and these are some of our lovely guests who really made the value of WomenEd. And through these events, our guests were sharing their success journeys and all the challenges that they have been facing in their leadership journeys. And then this led And then this led to our international webinar, and this is where we wanted to meet the theory and the research with the practices. And so we had a lot of takeaways from the 10% braver sessions. And this is where Rania actually organized a very nice webinar. And there are a lot of themes that emerged from the discussion. So they were highlighting the importance of research in documenting and sharing best practices, identify the challenges facing women ed in leadership positions in the MENA region, illustrate the uniqueness of women ed in the MENA region. And then we also participated in the global conference. We had a book club. So we started with Rainbow Troops and Dare to Lead. And then we started to collaborate with WomenEd MENA Canada. And we had very nice book clubs about emotional agility. And then we had Be More Toddler with the author, Emma Turner. So actually we expanded our book club, which was really a successful event. And then we had some Twitter chats that we started a few Twitter chats on Twitter. And now I will head to Esther to talk about the challenges facing women in the MENA region.
Thank you, Zainab. So we've looked a little bit about some of the challenges that women face potentially across the sector. And then with teaching, although women dominate the workforce of teaching, across education, there's still a lot of gender and racial inequalities in terms of number, particularly in leadership. So those are some of the challenges that we face. When we looked at the actual MENA region, there's an overlap. So there's some challenges that are more specific to the region, but they can overlap as well with other regions across the world. So some of these, and these are mentioned in the book as well. So if you do read the book or you get into the book, there's a lot of examples about things like imposter syndrome, so fear of failure, a lack of self-confidence and self-bias, and that's from yourself and also from others. Different concepts as well, cultural concepts that differentiates between male and female, and that can be a little bit more prevalent in this area depending on certain cultures. Financial issues, differences between men and women, which is something that WomenEd just address globally. A lack of professional awareness and projects that people can get involved in or feel that they can get involved in. Balancing different responsibilities, and there's a lot of talk with this as well. We've had in our 10% Braver, this comes up a lot about balancing things like being a wife, being a mother, being a teacher or a leader, and how that can be balanced and how that can be managed, and whether there are cultural or specific sort of demands or more demands that people feel. For example, the social pressure to get married as a priority, is that more prevalent in some places than others? And then living in a community that doesn't always show opportunities around them as well. So we've had quite a few things. There's been a couple of things that have been quite challenging for us as a group in Women's Ed MENA, which is that we as Zainab mentioned, we're from different communities already. We've got Rania's in Qatar, you've got Zainab in Abu Dhabi, but we come from different areas as well from the world. And that's what makes it so rich, but also that there's lots of different backgrounds, different people coming with different experiences. And that's, as much as that makes it rich, that can also be a challenge. There's also language as well, which isn't unique to MENA, but it is that we have Arabic and English and potentially other languages in Northern Africa, for example, French. And how can we incorporate and make sure that we're including everyone? So we've had a few of our Twitter chats have been translated directly. Some have been more successful than others, and we're really trying hard to make sure that we include everybody and everybody's voice, but that can be challenging as well. And then one of the other challenges that we've had is how to get the MENA region onto Twitter and onto social media so that we can share and communicate and collaborate, and that's been quite something that we need to get over as well in terms of trust around media. So that's been quite an interesting concept that we've touched on. So that's something that we're coming up with as well. So what's coming up in our next sort of project is to show people and how to use Twitter. So we're collaborating with WeEdu, And I'll show you the ladies after this. I think you've had them on your show as well, Olly.
We've had Linda Parsons and Vicky, who's now works at TES. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And Philippa Wraith. Yeah.
So they're going to join us shortly, and they're just going to be holding some webinars for us and just talking through how to use it and just giving people who are unfamiliar just more confidence on what it involves, and how they can get involved in Twitter talks and things like that and connect with other people. So that'd be really great. We're going to have some drop-in coffee mornings as well, just a little bit more informal, just to chat and find out more about people so they can come in and not feel like they have to commit, just come in and chat, connect, support, and network if they need to. We've got an International School Principals Conference in Turkey as well, and our book club. I'll just talk you through these as well. So as I mentioned, you've got Linda and Philippa that are going to collaborate with us as well. We're really excited to be working with them. Our coffee morning, so they're going to take place on the first Saturday of each month at 11 our time. So we're going to post that on our Twitter feed. So watch out for that space. And this is important, and I think we talked about this briefly. We want men to come as well. Men, like, women's ed is not just for women. It does include men to come along, and it is about men being allies and supporting women. So it is not just exclusively for women. And I think it mentions there as well, we would like to start meeting face to face. So hopefully people can start meeting and having a coffee in person. Our August book club, Burnt Out by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. We're going to be looking at that book and talking about the book as well. So come along, and you don't need to read the book to join us. So please do come along. And then we've got just more 10% bravers. We love meeting different people, hearing different people's stories, their backgrounds, their journeys. It's so inspiring to hear different people's backgrounds and how, the challenges that they've overcome or faced. Just to feel that, these are things that either you're not going through alone, or just to hear other people's experiences and find out what other people are going through. So that's been really, really great. And something that we reached out and we actually asked, people and women in our region what they wanted, and a lot of people wanted to support sessions, so practical support sessions that were like how to improve your CV, interview techniques, coaching. So we've had a lady come in, Zen Khan, and talk to us about coaching, but we want to do a little bit more on how we can support people and what they need, and how we can improve people and support their leadership journeys. What can you do? So primarily we want people to just join us where you can, when you can. We'd love people to celebrate with us, to join in and share their stories. So there's lots of different ways that you can do that, obviously, on the social media, and we'll put the links in with you as well. But I think one of the things that primarily when you read the 10% Braver books, and it is all about that, Zainab mentioned that, what would you do if you were 10% braver? It is about, Rania mentioned as well, you add up all those 10%. What can you do? How can you take that next step? So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a background to what we're about.
Yeah, that's what I've really loved about all of that was kind of what's at the heart of all of the different things that you're doing is this sort of concept that the network is more powerful than the node. I forget kind of who wrote that or where it comes from, but that really rings true with, not only WomenEd MENA, but WomenEd as well. We've had a couple of comments come in from Miss Rocky. Thank you very much. She sends a heart emoji through, and then she's also sent in a question. This is great. How do I sign in to join? So for anyone watching so far, how do they join up?
Rania, this is your part.
Now, this is the easiest part that we were talking about. You just need to follow us on Twitter. That's the easiest thing that we want and encourage everyone to join us. So there is no kind of a form to fill. Being part of this community, either WomenEd, the ladies that they started this 5 or 6 years ago, they were only 5. They started with a hashtag. And that's why we need to insist and to continue via Twitter, because we need to follow us on the hashtag, and we need to make sure that we're having this kind of trend and practices between us. I hope that this is simplifying the answer for you. So you have the accounts. If you can go back to that slide, Esther, please. It's WomenEd MENA, and the hashtag is so easy, just WomenEd. And you can follow all of our news, all of our contributions, events, and simply just be there, being that. And you will be surprised that one of our participants, she considered joining Twitter was 10% braver. She said that I never thought of joining this platform. And this is a very nice way to communicate, collaborate, and to apply the 8th or the 9th, seize the 9th values of WomenEd. I also want to highlight before we go to the next question that our logo is a microphone. You can tell from the logo that just to voice all of our experiences. So don't think that I don't have much to participate, or I'm not ready, or I don't know how to join, or what to do, or what to share. Joining, being you, this is 10% braver, and this is supporting us all just to know what you're doing and how you can all be part of this community. All of the events that had been mentioned can be watched via YouTube. So even if you are looking now to see what kind of things that you have done so far, please make sure to see them via that.
You can also just drop us a message if you want to be in any of our sessions, if you would like to conduct something, if you would like to share your experience. So just feel free, everyone, just to drop us a message and say, we would like to be in one of your sessions. We would like to organize something. And, would welcome everyone.
We've got another question here from Krishna. Thanks for tuning in, Krishna. How should women support other women in their organizations?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think there's so many ways that that we can support each other. We can be each other's allies. We can be each other's listen to each other and to be each other's champions primarily. But there's so many different ways. It doesn't have to be, your position doesn't really matter in the organization, because I think it's what you can do to support the individual and share each other's voices. I think that's really key.
And I think listening also to each other. So giving a time to listen to people is really important.
Thank you.
I would add that to a very important point, if you allow me.
Sorry, Ronnie.
Simply just not to nag on the ladies and tell them, no, you don't want to do this. Why are you doing this? This is also one of the simplest way of supporting each other. So that there are different ways of helping and providing this challenging plus positive environment.
I think that's really important. Miss Rocky has replied with perfect, and I will share this with educators in my school. So there we go. We've already got somebody being 10% braver. You mentioned as a part of your presentation that it can be quite difficult, especially with such a diverse membership base, a diverse group, a professional learning network, or even a professional support network, to ensure trust with social media. What sort of things can we do to start to build that bridge of trust with colleagues across the region?
That's a hard one, I think. I think primarily showing people how to use the media. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're starting with, so how to use Twitter and what that means. I think there's a level of privacy and exposure that media can have, particularly in the region that we're in. There is an awareness of what you share and how much you share. So it's educating the people and educating each other on how to do that safely and to feel comfortable when doing that.
Along with, I guess, taking that first step, if you're not a social media user and using it as part of some sort of learning network or otherwise, it would be remiss of me to not ask this question of each of you. Could you please share an example where you have been 10% braver? I think that's probably a good question to ask. Can I come to Rania first?
Oh boy, I'm not going to finish, I think. Okay, let's start with, there are different ways, starting from trying everything new. when I started to my journey as a teacher, everyone was telling me, "You're just new to the profession. You're just, you're keen. You're enthusiastic. When you have children, you will forget everything." But I think I'm enjoying every single step within, despite all of their words and all of their expectations. And now I'm so happy to see that what they were telling me I will stop doing, now they're joining me to do. The other thing I also love to be more than 10% braver is to try something new. For example, launching Education Leadership Lab, following design thinking. I think this is a trend. Not much had been applying to this or familiar with this approach, but helping others to empathize, to understand, and identify the challenge. That's something very important. And a last example I would love to share is helping everyone just to see their strength. So one of our values is to challenge, but we don't have to have a very high level of standards of challenge. Everyone can get out of their comfort zone and try something new. For them, this would be a huge challenge, but you would never forget the spark in their eyes and the beauty of them going through this learning journey and saying, "Yes, I did this." It might be using Zoom for the first time. It might be reading something and discussing, expressing their opinions. There are lots of examples to share. Thank you.
That last one really resonated with me. I think that failure is actually quite an important part of any kind of learning journey, not only in our careers, but also in life. In doing a little bit of research for this, I read a nice quote from Lubna Alayan, who's a business owner in the Middle East. And she said, the more challenges you face in life, the more of life you experience. And this lived experience gives one the influence to impact others' lives. And I think that is really helpful and rings true and resonates, I'm sure, for all of us. Going back to what you mentioned earlier with, such a diverse community across many different contexts and nationalities, cultural backgrounds, being able to tap into that support network for each other, I think is such a rich and rewarding facet to WomenEd MENA. Zina?
I think we're daily 10% braver.
Yes.
I think this is something like daily now. So change and challenge. So every day there is something new. I personally would never say, no, it's not going to work. I will try things first. I will learn from experience, and, I will just reflect and just go forward and fix what needs to be fixed. So it's just learning from our experiences. And what really, this is like a big thing for me. So I did my master's in educational leadership and management. It was a 2 years program. So the first year, the professor actually he was not convinced that I can go further in this. And he told me, you need to stop. I don't think this is the right place for you. And you're not ready for this. You can go after 2 years, you can come back and try again. And actually I said, no. A lot of people quit at this year, the first year. And I said, no, I'm going to continue this. And there was a very good, nice colleague there. And she said, no, we can go through it. And then the next year we had another professor, which really believed in what I was doing. And she really believed in the dissertation and in my project. And I did something so different at this time, and I got a distinction, and I discussed and I had a journal paper published, and I went to Belmas to talk about my research, and it was I can do it. So please just, it's the feedback. I didn't get the right feedback on my first year. So I think it's the power of feedback, how you're, communicating with people and just having the confidence that you can do it. Just continue and learn from experience.
Yeah, and I think, we rise by lifting others. And I think that is what's coming across from all of you and from WomenEd is, we're all in it together, ultimately. And if we can help each individual person get slightly better, we all get better. And actually, a large part of that is having the right person next to you to give you the right piece of feedback and advice to get you there. So I'm really pleased that not only did you not quit, you got a far better professor in your second year, and look at the difference one person can make. That's awesome.
Yep.
Esther, could you give me an example of 10% braver, please?
I know, how do I follow on from Zainab? That's amazing. I just love hearing these stories. I find them so encouraging. For me, there's like their personal 10% braver and professional 10% braver, and they do interlink. But it is things like, initially just being really scared about standing up and talking in front of people and just taking that leap, that personal leap of like, it's okay, you can do it. And then it is just the professional, going for jobs, not necessarily getting them, but going and doing your best and just having that go, because like you said, it's the experiences that make you richer. There's a lot. It's I think, like Zainab said, every day you're doing things, you're taking those little leaps of 10% that maybe don't seem a lot to somebody, but actually to you, they're those personal successes. And I think that's what's important to remember. I don't have anything as grand as Zainab, but I salute Zainab. I think you're amazing for carrying on. And I love working with these women. I just find them so inspiring. So I'm so grateful to be surrounded by these ladies.
Thank you, Esther. Listen, everybody has their own, I'm not sure what phrase to kind of use in the moment, but everyone has something that's important to them, right? And it doesn't matter, I guess, the severity of it, or we all see things in different lights, but it's about being there for one another, I think. And I think that is hugely important. We've had another comment come in. Again, it's from Miss Rocky. She said, you could have given up in that first year after the negative feedback, but you didn't. You never know your full potential. I think that's hugely important, which kind of draws me into my next question, I think, which I'd like to phrase to you. Bearing in mind the last 18 months, and we've talked about a little bit about how it's been easier to connect in some senses, but more difficult to connect in others. What would you like to see change in education? What would you like to keep and why? And what would you like to get rid of and why? If we go in reverse order, is that okay? We come back to Esther this time.
What would I like to see stay in
what
education?
Changes would you like to see in education? What would you like to get rid of and what would you keep?
Oh, based on this last year or just in general?
Well, let's go in general. It doesn't have to be in the last year.
What would I like? I'd like to see, the ceiling removed. So I'd like to see people feeling like they can achieve exactly what they need to achieve and not feel limited by other people's opinions or other people's bias or even their own, actually. So I'd like to see that removed. I think there's a lot of, particularly recently, I think there's been a lot of moves in that direction, just really trying, where people are reflecting and organizations are reflecting on their sort of the way that they can support other people doing that. What would I like to stay? I mean, there's so many great things about education and the children. I mean, keeping what we're doing at the heart of it, which I think, this has been so fundamental this year when we're, through technology and I think when I know that different people are at different stages. Some of us, we haven't been in the classroom that much in Oman, and it is just just not being around the children being at the heart of everything that we're doing in the community and the impact, like the importance that we have as educators on these young people and on the future. And I know it sounds very massive, but it is. We are literally, things that we do on a day-to-day, things that we impart on these young minds has such an impact on the future, and it's so important. I can't stress how important that is. Not that it's pressure, but it's valuable, it's an honor, and it's something that we should really embrace.
Zainab?
Yeah, I totally agree with Esther. So the amount of resilience you can see in the children moving from distance learning to in school, distance learning to in school, especially in little children, and how they are just so confident in the transition right now. It shows that the quality of the little children, however their ages, they are just going through it so well and dealing with it. But what I would really like to get rid of and I think this is due to COVID, is that we don't have much play now in early years. And I would like, maybe I'm just wearing the early years hat. So I'm just thinking about, little children and how this pandemic has affected their learning, because everything is just hands-on and now we cannot have our hands on anything. So yeah, I think it has been a very challenging year, and this is what I would really like to address next year, is how to overcome these barriers and challenges that we're having.
And same question to you, Rania.
Many things, and it's based on research this time, because I was fortunate enough to conduct lots of interviews with many educators just to see how this impacted them. So let's start. First of all, it gave us time to really understand the meaning of education, and it's not only schooling. So sometimes we just focus on the textbooks or the time of the school, but it's way beyond that. And we're so happy to see everyone collaborating. And now we're going back to our values, collaborating, connecting, trying to understand clarity. What are the priorities? So we see everyone involved to provide education, to instill teaching and learning, not only giving or delivering information in schools, one way side. It's more than that. The other thing, I love the teachers, because I'm specialized in teacher leadership. So one of them, she said that it's time to be a hero. So yes, there's a crisis, but within every crisis, there's opportunities. Many teachers, they started helping each other, helping parents, helping their students, and helping themselves in the first place. I liked one of the principals when she said that I loved COVID because it freed us. Having the sense of freedom, that now you can start thinking out of the box, you can trying new things, and that would take us to something very important, is how to be ready. That we learned many things in 1 week when the pandemic forced many schools to close, and everyone was going and searching for technical solutions or for different options. So we learned in this week what we didn't learn in many years ago, and that would take us to importance of being ready, being prepared. During the pandemic, we heard lots of people talking about well-being, and that would cause the question why we didn't think of that before. Yes, now we're trying, and we have online blended whatever kind of education that we're started in our countries or in our context, but we need also to take care of ourselves, our children, and this should continue. We should not wait for another pandemic to teach us other lessons than this. So there are lots of things. Yes, we were not happy of losing connections, physical connections with people around us, but I think there are lots of lessons that we need to reflect and diagnose. And this is one of the things that we will be presenting in the conference in Turkey that Esther had mentioned. We have a workshop there, so please join us. And I also am presenting a paper about it took us a pandemic to repractice education.
Thank you so much. We've had a comment come in from Fiona Cotton, Principal of Heartland International School. Thanks for tuning in, Fiona. She's also been on your collaborators WeEdu before, and I'm sure if she isn't already involved in WomenEd MENA, she will be soon. Perhaps compassion might be an additional value. Where do we stand on that?
I think that's embedded within community, because community for us also include compassion and welcoming, this kind of warm welcoming. Welcome on board. So we're starting this, and we also need to highlight the importance of clarity, understanding, and listening for others. Thank you.
We've had another comment come in from Krishna. I'd like to see people listen to voices and words without caring about the face saying it. Content over cover, #blind listening. Would anyone like to add anything to that?
Yes, this is very important. I think, ladies, please join me on this. It's about the idea. It's not about personalizing what we are hearing. And that's why we allow WomenEd had lots of campaigns about BAME, about Black and diversity, having different opportunities for others, understanding the gap and challenges. And we will be surprised also, because we're talking about the MENA and we're targeting expats and locals, that sometimes we face those challenges, but we might not be aware of the bias that we're having, and or the way that we're treating with people around us. So yes, we need to be careful about grabbing the wisdom, listening carefully, and utilizing information wherever that we have it. Thank you, Krishna.
Do you have any top tips then, on Rania, on how to go about ensuring that we are concentrating on the content, not necessarily who it is coming from?
There are lots of tips about the effective listening, but first of all, we need ourselves to be aware of our own bias. What guide us? What would affect our own understanding? And that's very important for clarity. But I think, and everyone needs to work on Johari window. I'm assume that it's familiar for everyone that I need to communicate my values and to make others also understand me in a better way. So it's two sides that I need to have more effort in contacting and communicating. And this is the beauty of our network, because we have different background, different cultures. When we start practicing this, we will be familiar. And we will notice this in an amazing way within the book discussions, because you start, this is how the authors think and this is how they say. But when you start hearing others, the second time will come and say, what did you think about the author's opinion? Did you notice? Is there another way? So usually you start reflecting on your own way of thinking and your own way of analyzing information. And that's, another learning journey.
It is, yeah. This leads me on to something that I've actually wanted to ask you as a group. I think we kind of touched on elements of it. What three things, if you could distill it just to three, do you think should be at the forefront of leaders' minds at the start of the next academic year?
Would like to start?
I think it's the community of the school. I think that has to be key. I think, yes, obviously the children are at the heart, but I think at this point, teachers have, and the people, the middle people, like the teachers in the middle, have just had a really hard time. We've had to adapt, we've had to change, and the children have had to do that. But I think it's about taking care of the people facilitating the learning so that they can do their best job. I think that would be a primary thing. And keeping, I think, for parents, as a parent, as a parent of a teen going into senior school, communication and just that really transparent and kind of like, we're in this together. I think that idea of community spirit, we're in this together, we're going to get through it together, but we need to work together to get through it. We're all in this. COVID has impacted everybody on varying degrees and varying levels, and the technology, we've all had, difficulties. As parents, we've all had those moments when you're just like, and the children are like, I'm not doing it. What do you mean you're not doing it? Both in class and at home. So it's just like, I think it's about how we can support each other. So I think the community has to be at the heart of that.
That's a lovely answer, that, and really in tune with the values of WomenEd. I think going back to that, not idea, but well, it is an idea, but an action of not only community, but that's underpinned as well by lots of your other values, I imagine, with connection and communication and collaboration. Zainab, if I could come to you next.
So yeah, as Esther said, just getting everyone on board, getting all the stakeholders, just to maybe on the first week of school, before school starts, just having like afternoons and evenings with parents, with leaders, getting teachers together. A lot of teachers, there has been a lot of turnovers this year, and people are just leaving, and so we have quite a new staff. So everyone just needs to get together, have the time, not just to get people into teaching just straight away. We need to have like 1 or 2 days to get to know each other. These social communication, social relationships between teachers is really important in the beginning of the academic year. Also ensuring that parents know what's coming up. So, this vagueness around how it's going to start next year. Is it going to be blending? Are we going to be in school all time? Half of the children in school, we can't have like a certain plan of what's going on next academic year. And of course, the well-being of the students. Some students have not been in school for more than 1 or 1.5 years now. They haven't been in a classroom yet. So it's taking care of all these small stuff. Yeah.
And Rania, over to you.
I will just emphasize what my colleagues had just mentioned. If we can summarize them into three. First, to reflect.
Ooh,
Oh,
not sure where Rania's gone there. First one was to reflect. Hopefully she'll join us again in a moment. I'm guessing the next one was communicate, and then the third one was collaborate. Here we go. Trying to. Hello, Rania. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what happened there. So the first one was reflect.
Yeah, to reflect on what went well and what kind of things that they want to avoid, as you had asked us. So we go back to asking them the same question. The second one, to make sure that they evaluate the context, not only to assume that this is the priorities, but to make sure that they are data-driven. And the third one is to humanize their action and their decisions, because I'm pretty sure that most of the school leaders and everyone will just be focusing on how to bridge the gap or how to make sure that the students had completed what they have missed over the last 2 years. But we sometimes miss that we need to take care of their personalities, their mental health, and their well-being, instead of just treating them as a bank of information that we want to fill at once. So that's something we need to be careful, either for teachers, for parents. I loved my daughter's school's principal when she sent us messages at the beginning of the year. For example, take care of your children's feet, get them ready for the school. Now, like even those small things, now it's more.
Oh, I think Rania is frozen for me a little bit. Is anyone else frozen, or is it just me?
no,
Just-
no. It's just
Okay. I think that's really important and really valuable.
More than 10%.
We're back. We lost you for a moment there, Rania. Ooh. Might have gone. I think that's really important. Sweat the small stuff, but it's nice to hear that school's approach to sweat the small stuff is look after yourself. I think that is hugely valuable. I'm mindful of time. We're approaching the kind of hour mark, and I think what I'd like to do as we're approaching this mark is, could Esther, we just get your slides back up about what's coming up, because there are so many different things. So depending on what you feel like you need or would like to get involved in, there's lots of different opportunities depending on what you feel like you need or you'd like to join. So we've got collaboration with WeEdu, all sorts of things happening on Twitter, drop-in coffee mornings, International School Principals Conference in Turkey. I'm presuming the Twitter chats, the drop-in coffee mornings, virtual, online?
yes.
Yeah.
Via Twitter?
We're hoping to get face-to-face at some point. So we've got Qatar, we've got Abu Dhabi and Muscat covered when we can go join face-to-face.
Yeah, and that will all be announced via Twitter, via your at WomenEd MENA. The International School Principals Conference, then, how do people engage in that?
We'll put some links in on our Twitter feed as well. We are also using Instagram quite a lot as a way to get people that are not on Twitter. So if you're not on, well, these will be on Twitter now, but if you know anyone, they can also join using Instagram as well if they feel more comfortable on that platform.
And what's your handle on Instagram?
It's WomenEd MENA as well. So I'll send a link on our Twitter as well, although that might work as well. But if you go to WomenEd MENA on Instagram, then you can find us there as well.
Brilliant. And your August book club, that will be Twitter chat as well at present, but obviously moving to face-to-face in due course, I'm thinking. Is that correct?
Let me jump. Our book club, I'm sorry, I'm back. Sorry for the connection. But we have different continents. We have WomenEd Canada, we have WomenEd MENA, and also we have from Ontario, we have ladies from Sydney and from UK. So that's online, and the Zoom link will be available via our platforms.
We've had a request already come in from Miss Rocky. How about Dubai? Can we not have a face-to-face event in Dubai? I'm going to throw out the gauntlet here. How about you become the Dubai lead, Miss Rocky, for WomenEd MENA, and organise a event in Dubai. Is that okay? Can I do that?
You can.
Definitely.
The support sessions, I think that's awesome that you're not only doing sort of CV writing technique, but coaching. If anyone's watching that wants to get involved in that with yourselves, how do they go about it?
Again, we'll share that on Twitter and Instagram, and that's on both sides. If you want to join in to get the support, or if you want to offer some support as well, then that would be great from both sides too. So do get in touch with us on any of our handles, and we'll get back to you.
That's brilliant. Thank you. I mean, you've covered all of my questions there. I did have what's coming up next, but you've got so much going on, which is amazing to see. Just as a kind of final I guess statement from myself then is please do share this in your schools. I think the power of the network is the people that are part of that network. So if you're out there and you're in a WhatsApp group in school, or a team, or a Google Classroom, or anything, and you've watched this back or have watched this part of this live tonight, please do engage with WomenEd MENA, share their various social media platforms in your school, whether you just want to participate and absorb some information from the team, or if you would like to be a part of the team. I'm sure we're always looking to expand the team so that you can support a wider network. It's amazing you've grown to 35,000. Is members the right word? Colleagues in such a short space of time. I'm sure over the next year that number will only go up and up and up because of all the amazing things that you're doing to support educators across the region.
Yeah. Pretty sure. Thank you.
I'd just like to say a final thank you from me for not only coming on, but for allowing me to put you each on the spot a little bit with asking you how you've been 10% braver. I didn't tell you I was going to do that. So thank you so much, Zainab, Esther and Rania. Is there anything that you'd like to say and share about WomenEd MENA that we haven't covered so far on this session?
No, I think we've managed to cover everything. Thank you so much for having us, Olly. It's been great.
That's all right. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And we are so pleased because we're voicing the experiences of this lovely region. So don't hesitate to contact us or to join us. Looking forward, and thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. And we have one final comment from Krishna, which just says, thank you, everyone. Thank you too, Krishna, for engaging. And Miss Rocky has said yay to the gauntlet. So there we go. We've got another member of the team. Excellent. Our work here is done. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And please do get involved with WomenEd MENA in the coming weeks, months, and years. Please do get involved. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.